Hello there everyone, and welcome. This is your host Pagawiggy, and welcome to this week's Weapons of Mordhau, the Estoc. First and foremost, the Estoc is a type of longsword, designed primarily for thrusting, with a very pointy blade that lacks sharp edges. This is because the blade of the Estoc was not like that of a typical sword. The blade had cross sections that could be triangular, rhombic, or hexagonal in nature. Because of these cross sections, grinding a sharp edge on the Estoc was nearly impossible. And these cross sections were added to the blade so that it would be stronger when thrusting the blade. This is because Estocs were primarily designed to penetrate between the links of mail and in the weak spots of plate armor. A typical Estoc was like a longsword, about 5 feet in total length. The Estoc was slightly heavier than the typical longsword, but only by about half a pound on average, with an average mass of about 2 kilograms. The term Estoc is derived from French and means thrusting. The Estoc was also employed in hunting various animals in the Middle Ages. While a spear is typically used to aid in preventing injury to a hunter because it would give you longer range against the animal you're fighting, people seeking more prestige would hunt with swords instead. In Mordhau, the Estoc is the spitting image of its real-life counterpart. In the game, it is given an extra 20 centimeters over the longsword for balancing purposes. However, in real life, these swords could be of identical length. The cosmetic options of the Estoc only show the rhombic versions of the blade, but this version was fairly common. The Estoc is best suited in Mordhau to be used for stabbing, as was the intent in real life. Its slashes do pitiful damage, but they are nice because the slashes of the Estoc are slightly faster than that of the longsword. The Mordhau grip is also the alternate attack for this weapon, with nearly identical statistics, albeit slightly further reach than the longswords. In general combat, the Estoc can be used like a longsword. However, you should do your best to emphasize the stabs of this weapon. Slashes are certainly needed, otherwise your enemy will be ready to block all of your stabs. The best method to employ while using the Estoc is to use a combination of slash drags and then some stabs to trip up the enemy, and to get some major damage in. Another really good way to get the stabs really involved here is to morph from slashes into stabs, or slash then feint into the stab. The longer length of the Estoc is also nice because it can facilitate beating longsword users and smaller weapons. In terms of general utility, the Estoc has everything except for slashing damage. The stabs are superb and the alt works just fine, but the slashes mean it can be harder to deal with people that don't wear as much armor, unless you're going for stab headshots. For these reasons, the Estoc will receive a 3 out of 5 in terms of general utility. Regarding dueling, the Estoc is honestly nearly as good as the longsword, but because of the slashing damage, it isn't as good as the longsword in many different situations. For this reason, the Estoc will only receive a 3 out of 5 in dueling effectiveness. In terms of team play, the Estoc is fairly useful, as it can be used much like a spear, but because of its slashing limitations and the fact that the spear and other weapons like the halberd are better suited for front lines than the Estoc, it will only receive a 3 out of 5 in terms of team play. The final category, French sexiness, is the best redeeming quality for this weapon. What it lacks in terms of performance, it makes up in terms of beauty, because the Estoc is sleek. It's so fine, you wouldn't mind throwing some marinated chicken on that blade with some mushrooms and onions and make yourself a fancy shishlik, or a shish kebab. Regardless, this thing is hot, so it gets 4 out of 5 in terms of French sexiness. Well, in total, the Estoc receives a score of 13 out of 20, which isn't bad. This is simply due to the limitations of the weapon. The Estoc is best suited for combat against armored players, and its slashes are lackluster. In most situations, the niche that this weapon fills can be filled by much better weapons. However, just like any other weapon in the game, it can be mastered and used to pwn just about anyone. Well, that's it for this episode, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and comment for more content just like this. Go ahead and vote down below for the weapon you want to see in next week's episode, and I will see you all in the next guide video, today or tomorrow. Thank you again for watching. See you next time.
No.